So you work closely with first responders. What makes their grief experience unique?
Whew, I think there are a lot of pieces that make their grief unique. So if you think about what a first responder often goes through day to day or week to week, they are seeing lots of loss, lots of traumatic loss. I'd say 99 times out of 100, they have built a wall that some people would say, oh, they're cold. Oh, they never cry. They've got to do that for some protection. And so when it comes to their own personal loss, it's harder to break down that wall and to let themselves feel any grief in the same way that you or I might, to be able to let it out in some way. I always tell people, don't pretend you're fine. Don't stuff it down because it'll always come out to bite you. It's not as easy for a first responder to do that. And when they experience a loss, it's a lot more than just that loss because it opens the door to remembering all of the losses that they've seen along the way. And that compound trauma, that's what we call it, can make it so much more challenging, so much more difficult to get through it. I'd say that's one of the
Yeah,
bigger ones.
I think first responders, because they see so much loss and they see the worst of humanity sometimes, or a lot of times they see the worst of humanity, and they're rolling up on all sorts of scenes, and they see horrible things, they experience horrible things, and so I think
Hmm.
one of the ways that they survive is to compartmentalize these things
Yeah.
so that they don't have to deal with them. But it's like you said, eventually the dam's gonna burst, and so there has to be healthy ways for them to deal with that sort of thing,
Yes.
which is where you come in.
I try.
I think that's what chaplains do, right? When
Yes.
they're like a voluntary chaplain for the fire department or police department or whatever.
Right. Exactly. And
So what
there
can
is
care Go ahead.
There are great processes that we can bring first responders through. I'm part of a team of responders, critical incident stress management. And we go in and we do sit with one person at a time, but more often it's for a group debrief where all the folks who were part of that incident come into a room and we talk about what happened in a prescribed way that helps take the emotion out of the event. So the memory always stays there, but the emotion can settle down a bit. And as we're able to more and more encourage our first responders to partake in these, instead of what it used to be is we had a really crappy experience, let's go out and have a drink. And if you did anything other than that, you were considered wimpy and not strong enough to do the job. That's changing. And our first responders are healthier. They have a healthier response to things when they're able to process it in a good way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What can caregivers and helping professionals do to prevent compassion fatigue?
Self-care, for sure. And self-care comes in lots of ways. It's important to take a minute to think about what brings you joy, peace. Think about it when you're not in the midst of chaos and be sure you do those things. Intentionally build them into whether it's a daily routine, a weekly routine, or what have you. It could be as simple as making sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day. For first responders, since we were just talking about them, how do you intentionally weave that in when your days are often pretty dang chaotic?
Right.
Two, for me, it's knowing that I love to be out in nature. So how do I intentionally step away from everything I want to be doing? And it's a pull to be there to take care of people, but I know that I need to say, nope, I can't right now. Today is my day that I set aside to go out and weed the garden or go for a hike or whatever.
You have to find a way to decompress.
A way to decompress and intentionally schedule it, which isn't always easy.